episode 418 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that is for you if you play Magic the Gathering, and especially if you are so psyched about Kaldheim coming up.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And yeah, Kaldheim releases on Thursday this week on Arena and Magic Online for the pre-release. Releases in paper on February 5th. So if you're getting excited to play some Kaldheim cards, just wait. It's coming up this week.
That's right. And to prepare you, this week is, of course, our very special Judge Rob episode. So we have got Judge Rob in here. Well, not in here, in the internet, on our computer screens.
We've got him in the internet for you.
We've got him in the internet for you to explain all of these Kaldheim rules interactions and new mechanics and specific cards that may have some complicated text on them to make sure that you are prepared going into this weekend.
And I've got to tell you, you are going to want to take a listen to this, even if you feel like, oh, I'm old hat, I know how everything works. No, you will get something wrong.
There was stuff that I was very surprised by.
Yeah, me too. I definitely would have done things incorrectly with cards and had to pay as a result. So very happy that Judge Rob came by to give us all a lesson in all aspects of Kaldheim. Not to mention that Kaldheim, one of the most, if not the most complex set that Magic the Gathering has ever printed outside of a special set like Commander or something like that.
Very, very cool. But before we get started, first off, a huge shout out to everyone who makes this show, and especially special episodes of the show, like our Judge Rob episode, possible by being a patron and a supporter over on patreon.com/GLHF Magic.
Oh, Megan, do you want to find out our new people from last time?
Daniel! Shout out to Daniel. Yay, I'm already ready.
Great.
Thanks, Daniel, for becoming a patron since last week.
Yay, absolutely. We are so thankful for everybody who becomes a supporter of the show. It takes just a couple minutes of your time, and you support all of our creations over on goodluckhighfive.com. This show, the upkeep, all of our videos, all of our special stuff. Like coming up this week, we're going to have a video which is the top 10 worst rares that you do not want to play in your Kaldheim pre-release.
That's right.
All of that under the Patreon banners, all supporting that. And we are so happy for new members, people who've been members forever, everybody who's a member of our GLHF family.
Thank you as well to our sponsor, Card Kingdom, cardkingdom.com/GLHF, a great place to go for all of your magical needs. And especially now that Kaldheim is here.
Absolutely.
You're going to want to order those singles. You're going to want to order those boosters, those boxes, and they are the quickest way to get all of that sweet, sweet Kaldheim into your home.
Yeah, support Card Kingdom. Say Good Luck High Five. They'll throw a sticker or token in your order for free and get all the stuff that you need to have your very own Kaldheim experience inside your own house.
They are now the keepers of the only remaining available Good Luck High Five tokens out there.
That's true.
Yeah. So if you want a token, you gotta, we don't. I mean it. We mailed them all.
Card Kingdom's got some though.
So.
All right, everybody, it is time to welcome our very special guest, Judge Rob, onto Good Luck High Five. Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Yay! We're so excited to have you here to tell us all about Kaldheim, all of the mechanics, the new mechanics, the returning mechanics, the tricky cards, because there's a lot of it.
There's certainly a lot of words in this set. You had a stat, I believe?
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy you brought this up, Rob. So I asked Twitter the other day because I was very interested if Kaldheim had the most rules text of any set ever. Turns out it does. The good people over at Scryfall confirmed this for me. Kaldheim has 4,520 words of rules text.
14.
What did I say?
4.
14,520,000 words of rules text.
Just a cool 10K more.
Which is by far the most of any set ever printed. The runners up here, the next place is Ikoria with 12,291 words, followed by Zendikar Rising, 11,807, and Eldraine, 10,754. Whew. Which is interesting, not only because, you might have gotten the inkling that Kaldheim seemed pretty complex, but here is proof that the last few sets, complexity has been rising.
Yeah.
Or at least...
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, or at least verbosity.
Yes, at least verbosity, for sure. So, Judge Rob, before we get into all the mechanics and all the fun cards in Kaldheim, you usually start us off with a little PSA.
I do, and I'm going to keep going back to the well of... in-store play is not a Wizards thing right now. And what that means is that stores have been having a very, very rough time over the last year. And if you have a local store, what they're actually suffering on a lot is incidental purchases. So people come to the pre-release, they pick up snacks, right? They pick up their sleeves there. They're there for the day. They're like, oh, that's a cool board game. That's a cool D&D book. They pick those things up. Not everybody does, but some people do. And so that was what they did. The reason why they had a play space was to get you in to buy those things. And they're having a tough time, in many cases, keeping the doors open without that local play. And if you are planning to do the pre-release, or if you're not planning to do the pre-release and you just want to support your local store, you like them, they're good people, reach out to them, pick up some sleeves from them, pick up a board game to go play with your pod, bubble, whatever you want to call it during the pandemic, right? Pick up something to help your local store out, because you will be desperate to go out and have a place to play Magic when everything is said and done. You will be so excited to sit down across from that dude that smells like Hot Pockets. Like
that dude, Rob, how dare you? I know you're talking about me.
It is Maria.
Fair. Okay, sorry. I wasn't being inclusive enough. That person that smells like Hot Pockets. My apologies. You will be excited to just hang out with some people. And the place to do that is your third place, the local game store, right? And keeping them afloat from now until then will help you be a little more sane in a few months when enough people are vaccinated where everybody can really go out in public. Please don't play locally. We have more people dying now than ever, every day. It's like, you might think you can be more risky because there's vaccinated people out there. It's less safe now than it was for Zendikar. Like, statistically. It sucks. And I don't want people to get hurt or die because of my advice. I just want, when everything is safe, people to be able to go out and hang out with their friends.
Yeah, stay home, but pick up a board game that you can play at home.
Yeah, and we have got some fabulous suggestions of board games you can pick up at your local game store over on our sister channel, youtube.com/goodluckhifi board games, if you're looking for some ideas, because that is a great tip, Rob. Thank you.
So let's dive into cards, because I'm going to read a lot of words off these cards.
Yeah, Rob.
All right,
let's get going. We've got new mechanics is how we structure this. New mechanics, then returning mechanics. And the first new one is one we actually had questions about on a show a few shows ago, Foretell.
So Foretell is the big new headlining mechanic in the set. I'm going to look at Cosmos Charger. It's a 3/3 for blue and 3, Horse Spirit, with flash and flying, and it says foretelling cards from your hand costs 1 generic mana less and can be done on any player's turn. And then it has foretell of blue and 2. And some nice reminder text. During your turn, you may pay 2 mana and exile this card from your hand face down. Cast it on a later turn for its foretell cost. So foretell is basically like morph for spells. It's morph without a creature attached. And so you pay some mana. It's a special action. This doesn't use the stack. You can't counter it. You can't nimble obstructionist it. You just pay some mana and you set it aside, and you do it anytime you have priority on your turn. So if it's your upkeep and you're going to be discarding a card to Bottomless Pit because you're in 1997, then you can respond to the trigger by foretelling the last card in your hand if it has foretell on it.
I hate all those times I accidentally end up in 1997.
I know it.
Look, I reach for examples, and they're the classic ones from my childhood. So,
Weatherlight is here.
Yeah, Stronghold. So you can do this anytime you have priority, not just on your main phase. You can do it in response to spells. You can do it during combat. You can do it at different times. You can only foretell cards that are in your hand. So there's a lot of things. Red has this impulsive draw thing where it's like exile the top card and you can play it this turn. You can't foretell it. If you foretell a card, you cannot cast it the same turn that you foretell it. So if I foretell this Cosmos Charger, I pay blue and 2. During my main phase, I go to combat to do some stuff. My opponent then does something that makes me want to have a horse on my turn. I can't cast it the same turn that I foretell.
Oh, that's so interesting because it specifically calls it out and says cast it on a later turn.
Mm-hmm. And there's a couple cards. There's a Scarecrow I'll mention that's super relevant because otherwise he's just cheaper to do with foretell. So
all Scarecrows are super relevant, Rob.
I mean, I don't want to say you're wrong, except that you're totally wrong. Most scarecrows are pretty wrong.
Remember that one scarecrow deck? What was it?
Oh, yeah. Painter's Servant.
Painter's Servant. What format was that? Modern?
No, it was like when we had no banless Modern, maybe?
Oh, we must have been playing a weird format. Yeah.
We were playing a weird format.
Yeah, there's
Anyways.
Painter's Grindstone and Legacy is a real deck. But
Whew.
so the other thing is that when you cast the spell off Foretell, you cast it at the time you could normally cast the spell. So Cosmos Charger here, you can foretell it on your turn, then flash it on their turn. You can still only foretell it on your turn unless something like Cosmos Charger gives you the ability to foretell at other times.
Gotcha.
So this is relevant because there's some spells with foretell
Yep.
that you could cast on if it's an instant on your
Yes.
opponent's turn, but it means whatever the card is normally
Yes.
is when you can
Yep.
you can cast it for its foretell cost.
Exactly.
Okay.
At the normal time. And
Got it.
the card goes face down, and you have to track the order that you foretell cards when you're doing it in paper. So if I foretell something on turn 2, that's the first foretold card. If I foretell something again on turn 3, that's the second foretold card. This might be relevant if your opponent looks at your hand. Like, you foretell a card on 2, they use a discard spell that lets them look at your hand and discard a card, and then you foretell a new card on turn 3. You have to differentiate which one so they can know that the second foretold card is the one that they couldn't know.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
good to know. I saw them doing this at the pre-release
Yep.
over on Loading Ready Run. So
Yeah.
helpful reminder.
Yeah, and if something mentions foretelling, that's the art. That's the act of putting it face down in exile. So
I think it's an art, Rob.
it is an art.
It's the art of putting a card face down.
Yes.
In exile.
It is an art. I mean, I think that drawing cards off your deck is an art because I've been known for dexterity errors in
Yeah.
my time. So
I've knocked over many a library as well. So the other big new mechanic is boast. Boasting is good. Everybody should boast more. Yes.
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we're going to talk about Dragonkin Berserker here. Dragonkin Berserker is a 2/2 for red and 1, a human berserker. It has first strike, and it says boast abilities you activate cost 1 mana less to activate for each dragon you control.
Ooh.
Boast of red and 4, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying.
I'm terrified of this card.
Nice.
It looks like it's just going to make a bunch of dragons. It's great.
It reminds me of that little 1/1. Do you remember that? If you had
Dragon
6
Master Outcast.
Dragon Master Outcast, 6 mana, boom, make a dragon.
Yeah, you didn't even have to pay for Dragon Master
you
Outcast.
didn't.
It just happened.
So Dragonkin Berserker here, so the boast ability has reminder text. Activate this ability only if the creature attacked this turn, and only once each turn.
I mean, you can't boast too many times. People just think you're a jerk.
Yeah, they're just like, ugh, over it.
That's the flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're only allowed to boast so much. So boast kind of looks like an ability word. It's a word followed by a dash. It's not. It has rules text packed behind it that does its under the hood stuff. And that's why it has reminder text. And it allows other things to refer to boast. So like this Dragonkin Berserker refers to boast, where normally you can't refer to ability words. So it's interesting. It tracks the object that boasted, or that can boast, or that attacked. So this sounds complicated, but it basically means is you track the thing. So if you attack with a changeling that can change into a copy of something, and then post-combat it changes into a copy of Dragonkin Berserker, it remembers that it attacked. So it can boast.
Yep. That's cool.
Just how, like, when you put on a different outfit, you still remember what you did earlier.
And each boast ability is tracked separately. So if it gets 2 boast abilities, it can boast separately for each one. Also, because it tracks the object, there's a weird thing that you can do where, like, you attack with the creature and then your opponent steals it, and then they get to boast with it. Because that creature attacked this turn. It's not going to come up very much, but it's going to be very strange when it does.
Gotcha.
And remember, everybody, even if you attacked and you don't activate it like during combat or whatever, in your second main phase, you can still pay the boast because it has attacked.
Yeah, you can make
if
a
it
land
survived
drop
combat.
during your second main in order to boast. So if you attack with 4 lands out with the Dragonkin Berserker here, then, and they're like, whatever, you're not going to get a dragon. You're like, make a land drop, make a dragon, go.
Nice.
They can be very sad as a result. But it is
sequencing, everybody.
Yes.
Sequencing.
But they can't. But it is an instant, or it is instant activatable. So you can do it during combat if you need to do it, or you can do it later. The runes. I love the runes. These are great enchantments. The runes are a new type of aura. So Rune of Flight here is blue and 1. For an enchantment aura rune, enchant permanent. When Rune of Flight enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has flying. As long as enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has equipped creature as flying.
I'm just going to take this moment to say that, well, I love a good aura, obviously. I still think my idea for runes was better. The end. Do you remember what I said, Megan?
No.
I wanted it to be something where cards had a rune cost on them or whatever. That you get them and you get some runes with them. And then you can either sacrifice a rune to scry or sacrifice 3 to draw a card or something.
Okay.
So like the enchantment tokens, the shards that are made by the new Planeswalker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they already had it. So I understand why they didn't go with my idea. But like, just think about it.
So the word rune is just a tag. There's 5 runes, 1 in each color. And there's 1 card that searches for runes, which is a problem that they fixed from Zendikar quests, which are one of my saddest design mistakes that they oversaw, that they didn't do. But the runes all enchant any permanent, so you can put them on anything. This includes your lands or your opponent's lands. If you are hard up for something to do, and you just need to draw a card, you can Rune of Flight your opponent's basic spawn.
Great.
And so that you're going to see them a lot just because of this. I mean, besides the fact that they're all really good and limited, they're just basically always playable because they're a cycling card. That's the worst case scenario. Because they can enchant anything, they can enchant something like Faceless Haven. Faceless Haven is a land in the set. It's a snow land. We'll talk about snow in a moment here. But it taps for colorless, and for snow, it becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types until end of turn. So if you put the rune on Faceless Haven, then animate it to become a 4/3, it'll have flying. If you put Rune of Flight on it. So
I love this card. Faceless Haven's so cool.
Yeah, Faceless Haven is very cool, and the art is very good. Titus did a great job on it. But be aware that you can put it on anything. There's a few vehicles in the set. You can put it on vehicles, and that's fairly relevant when you can suit up. They apply +1/+1, or the green rune applies a +1/+1. Puts it on top of the power toughness from the vehicle. If you put it on a vehicle or on Faceless Haven as a land.
So it essentially makes a DeLorean.
Yes.
From Back to the Future. Flying car.
Yes. You can put Rune of Flight on a vehicle to make a flying car, yes.
Okay.
Where we're going, we do not
New
need
goal.
roads. Returning mechanics, because that was the new stuff. There's only a couple new things, basically. And otherwise, they're returning a whole pack of random nonsense. Modal double face cards. They might just have double face cards in every set from now on. I will stop mentioning them if they're in the next set, basically. Because
Yeah, I mean, everyone seems to love them, and I can only imagine they're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, they're really cool. So modal double face cards are double face cards that cannot transform. They have an up arrow or an up down arrow in the upper left hand corner to tell you that they are modal double face cards, and they don't mention transforming anymore. I'm going to talk about Valki, God of Lies, who on the other side is Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. Valki is a 2/1 for black and 1, legendary creature god. When Valki enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card they revealed this way until Valki leaves the battlefield. And X mana, you choose a creature card exiled with Valki with converted mana cost X. Valki becomes a copy of that card. And on the other side is Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. He costs red, black, and 5. As Tybalt enters enters with 5 loyalty. As Tybalt enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with, you may play cards exiled with Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. +2, exile the top card of each player's library. -3, exile target artifact or creature. -8, exile all cards from all graveyards and add red, red, red. So, with modal double face cards, anytime that you could play or cast it, you get to choose which side you get to cast. So if you're instructed to, if you're given the option to, say, cast a card from your graveyard and Valky's in your graveyard, you can cast Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. And so Tybalt actually will, it says that. You may play cards exiled with Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. So if you if you cast Tybalt previously and he exiles a Valky Tybalt off of your library, you can choose which side to cast. When they're in any zone other than the stack or the battlefield, they are just the front face. So in your library, Valky is a 2-mana card. He's not a 7-mana card.
Gotcha.
If you are instructed to if you have like something that says put target creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield, and you put Valky onto the battlefield, you don't get to put Tybalt into the battlefield. You put just the front face onto the battlefield. If something instructs you.
So if a card was like, put a planeswalker in your graveyard onto the battlefield, you couldn't do it.
Because Valky is a creature in the graveyard.
Or if someone were to duress your hand, they couldn't take it.
Right. Valky's immune to duress because he's a creature. I wanted to mention some things about Tybalt because people have missed this. Tybalt gives you an emblem, and when Tybalt goes away, you can still play the things that you exiled with Tybalt. So this is super relevant because if you put Tybalt onto the battlefield somehow, or you cast him, then you can, if you only cast him, you can't just put him on the battlefield. If you cast Tybalt, then you get to +2 exile the top of each player's library, and it's just kind of like drawing 2 cards. It's just pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, Tybalt's back, and Tybalt may be good.
And as mentioned, modal double-face cards can't transform. Valky can turn into copies of cards that can transform. So if your opponent has a Huntmaster of the Fells, and you exile it with Valky, and then pay 4 mana to turn Valky into Huntmaster, you can't transform Valky. If you give Valky and instruct him to transform, he just laughs at you. He does not care.
He's like, lol. Lol. I pass. Thanks, but I'm good.
I that other guy, never met him.
Yeah.
So
seems like a very Valky thing to say.
Of Tybalt.
Yeah.
The one thing people are looking at doing with this is cascading into Valky. Have you seen anything mentioned about that?
No.
So Bloodbraid Elf has Cascade, right? And so people are looking at using Bloodbraid Elf cascading into Valky. Cascade checks the converted mana cost of the card while it's being exiled for Cascade, and then it lets you cast the card. It doesn't check the converted mana cost when you go to cast it. It checks the converted mana cost as the front face, and then lets you cast whatever.
So you can cascade into
Tybalt. You can cascade into Tybalt with Bloodbraid Elf. So here's the deal. That's the current rules.
They're going to change it. They have to. That's absurd.
They might. They could just errata cascade. This is not impossible. That's the rules as they are right now. If there's a rules update, that will happen next week, I believe. Just after the set release, they release the full comprehensive rules.
All right.
Watch out, everybody. Jund, turns out, is good in Modern again.
It's tricky because you need to be able to consistently hit Valky. And Valky's fine. He's not incredible. He's not terrible. He's fine. So
that's funny.
It may or may not end up being worthwhile, but be aware, it's not a bug in Magic Online if it happens this way. It's not a bug in Arena.
Nice.
That's very funny.
So and there's a bunch of Cascade cards in Commander Legends that just came out too. So,
very cool.
Well, you know
see. If you do it, congratulations to you, man.
Sounds pretty cool.
It might end up being dumb and degenerate. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So Rob's definitely going to make the deck. That's what he's
I'm making this. It's not really a question.
I played you on Magic Online before, Rob. I know how it goes.
I just won the Faithless Brewing League because I played Blood Moon every week. It was a thing that I did.
Oh boy,
you monster!
Look, week 4 they gave me a format where they banned all the basic lands from Modern. What was I supposed to do?
Look at the time, Rob. It looks like you've got to get going. Weird.
That's just evil, man.
I'm only human,
but
though.
I mean, you made the right call. Yeah.
So, moving on, though.
Fair enough.
We have the return of Sagas. Sagas are back.
Yeah.
And this... I'm really excited about Sagas being basically in every set. They're just fun. This is one of the biggest biggest reasons why this set is full of words, though. You're going to have to read the Sagas multiple times. So Forging the Tyrite Sword, because it has the least words of any of the Sagas. It's white, red, and 1. As the saga enters and after your draw step, add a lower counter and sacrifice it after it runs its course. This one only has 3 steps. Step 1 and step 2 are create a treasure token. So the first lower counter and the second lower counter both will create treasure. Then the third lower counter will search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or an equipment card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. This is a... Yep,
All right.
these are triggers that happen on your main phase. Sorry. These are a turn-based action that happens in your main phase that causes a trigger to happen off the side. So they can't stop you from adding the counter, but they could like Nimble Obstructionist the trigger to create a treasure token. So time will still advance.
Gotcha.
They can't lock you on the same number forever.
The story continues whether or not you have actually read the words.
Exactly. You ever been reading and you just like, wait, I just missed a whole page.
Yeah, what was I doing? Yeah.
So we're going to move on to Snow that I mentioned we'd talk about. Snow is a super type. Let's look at Frost Auger here. It's a 1/2 for single blue, snow creature, human wizard. Snow and tap. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a snow card, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. And then it gives you the reminder text, snow can be paid with 1 mana from a snow source. So the word snow can get tacked as a tag onto any card on the its type line. It is not a creature type. It is not a card type. It is a super type, like basic or legendary. And the snow symbol, anything that uses it tends to remind you what it means. It just means, for the most part, lands that are snow typed are what you need to pay for this. So in Constructed, you can play in any format where a Kaldheim is legal. All 4 basic snow lands are legal. All 5 basic snow lands are legal. Thanks.
I was like,
no.
what?
We don't. There's no snow mountain. Don't worry about it. No. So in any format where Kaldheim is legal, all 5 basic snow lands are legal. So in Standard, you'll be able to play with either basic forest or snow-covered basic forest. And in Limited, you only play the snow lands that you draft or you open in your sealed deck. So you must draft snow lands when you're drafting if you want to be able to pay snow costs.
Gotcha.
I have a question from this card. Does it also count just like snow lands? If it's a snow permanent, or it just doesn't matter as long as it's snow related.
If it's a snow card, it means if it's a card with snow on the type line. So if the first word is, or if there's snow at the far left of the type line, it might say legendary snow or basic snow. But if there's snow on that type line, that's a snow card that you get to put in your hand.
I wish Minnesota tracked its snows in legendary snow or basic snow.
Basic snow.
Tonight, a legendary snow. So watch out. Tomorrow, basic snow.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, legendary snows are parking emergency days, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
The Halloween blizzard, for example, as all
Everybody knows
Legendary
the Halloween
snow.
blizzard,
Legendary
right? Yeah. So, snows around. You'll see it a bunch. Changeling.
Sweet.
I'm also excited for
Changeling's
Changeling.
back. This is they're fixing their problem that they managed to screw up in Ixalan by just using the tool that they've always had.
Yep.
So Mistwalker here, it's a 1/4 for blue and 2. It's a shapeshifter. It has the ability Changeling, and it says this card is every creature type. It also has flying, and then blue and 1 for Mistwalker gets +1/+1 +1/-1 until end of turn. So the Changeling ability applies in all zones. In every zone, Mistwalker is every creature type. All the time. If you remove its abilities, it is still every creature type. Because type changing happens before ability adding and removing. This is just creature types.
Gotcha.
This makes it an elf. This makes it a merfolk. This makes it a spirit and a brushwag. This does not make it an artifact. It does not make it snow. It does not make it legendary. Not all shapeshifters have changeling. This is a surprising thing that I've run into with people before, where they like play a random shapeshifter from some of their set, and then they try to count it as an elf or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah, if you asked me this as a trivia question, I would have said yes. They're all changelings.
Clone's a shapeshifter. Doesn't have changeling.
I
that
lost
makes
the
sense.
Jeopardy round.
Shapeshifters predate the changeling mechanic. All things with changeling
Yeah.
are shapeshifters. Not all shapeshifters have changeling. So,
Okay.
Great. Classic square around
Yes,
the situation.
classic
over
square
here.
around the situation.
Well, I just have to say, I am also both a spirit and a brushback.
I'm a squirrel and a crocodile.
But
Makes
you're not an
sense.
alligator because alligator isn't a creature type.
That's right. I learned that from you, Judge Rob.
So there's a handful of cards that refer to the second spell that you cast. So Infernal Pet here is black and 2. It's a 2/2 imp. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Infernal Pet and it gains flying until end of turn. This sees spells that were cast before it, and it won't count itself if it's the second spell. So if you open by casting some other spell and then cast an Infernal Pet, the Infernal Pet isn't on the battlefield to trigger. Because it needs to be on the battlefield for the whenever you cast your second spell each turn to trigger.
Gotcha. And then if you cast a third spell after that, it's like, too late.
Yeah, it's like I was
second.
I was the second spell. Like, look, you got to pay attention.
It was me. I was the second spell.
So if I cast my third spell, it's not even going to know? It's
I mean, it's going to know, but it's not
gonna
going
know,
to
just
give you
won't care.
anything.
Yeah.
because it only cares about second. And it's like, I was a
Yes.
second and I wasn't around. So
Yeah.
you get nothing.
Yep.
Exactly.
I would not have thought that's how this card worked.
Yeah, man.
being real with
it
you.
sees things that happened before it. It tracks the total number of spells that you cast this turn. Luckily, counting to 2 is very easy. Most Magic players can do it.
Most. That card is cute, by the way. It didn't win cutest card, but I just want to say it's cute and
It
it's
is
weird.
cute. It is cute and a little spooky.
It's a little spooky. He's like eating a fairy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that part's the spooky part. And he looks real pleased about it. He's just like, yeah.
I caught it. I caught it.
he's
Here,
the
I'm eating
he's
it.
the demon imp that ate the fairy. That almost is like a phrase.
I mean, it's like when my cat screams around my house and then brings a little toy and drops it at my feet, like, praise me for this kill, mother. That's what that card is doing.
You're like, good job.
You did it. You really
really
did it. You
got
killed
it.
something that was laying there, lifeless, already dead. Thumbs up. You're a real hunter.
Yeah.
I'm very sarcastic with my cats.
I don't think it's limited to just your cat, but
Wow.
Called out. Called out.
Yep.
yeah. So ability counters. There's one card that adds ability counters. I don't know why. If you remember this from the set with the dinosaurs.
What set
Not
was it?
with the monsters. Ikoria.
Oh, yeah, Ikoria.
Ikoria.
So the moth.
Yeah.
Luminous,
Brood Moth does it. There's a whole bunch of cards in Ikoria that add counters. And this
Yeah,
is the
that
only
put-
one.
that put
So be
ability
prepared
counters.
to get blown out by this because you will not realize that it does something permanent. Ascent of the Worthy is black, white, 1 for a saga. The first and second steps of the saga are choose a creature you control. Until your next turn, all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control is dealt to that creature instead. This is kind of a headache to remember. Basically, you're gonna get rocked by this online at least once, where somebody's like, "This 1/1 takes all my damage. Attack with all of my things," and you're like, "Set up some quality blocks," and they're like, "Cool." All of it routes to this 1/1. Like, kill all your dudes. But the
Good times.
third set of
Wow.
the saga, and it also works on blocks too, because it's until the end of your next turn. That's going to be the hard part. Because they're going to be able to just like point everything at this 1/1, pass the turn, and then blocks make their creatures are invincible on defense. But step 3,
Yeah. Although if the 1/1 goes away,
correct. If
it
the
can't
1/1 is
happen
not
anymore,
around,
right?
then the first
Okay.
and second steps don't have anywhere to redirect the damage to. Step 3
Gotcha.
is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with the flying counter on it. That creature is an angel warrior in addition to its other types. I predict that they're not
Alright.
going to put flying counters and boosters like they did for Ikoria. Because there's no reason to.
No.
It's the only card that puts counters on that puts ability counters on things. But the thing is a permanent angel warrior and permanently has flying. Well, semi-permanently, as long as that counter's on it, it is flying. This will probably get you, or get me at least, where I'm going to forget that their thing permanently is flying from Ascent of the Worthy. So be aware,
enough.
this is the one card that I saw that uses an ability counter. Speaking of
Great. So put a little flying
Yeah.
reminder on there. Yeah. And speaking of,
Speaking
go
of
on, Rob.
counters, Finn, the Fangbearer. He deals with poison. He's a 1/3 for green and 1. Legendary
Whoa.
creature human warrior with death touch. And whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. And then it reminds you.
So weird. Why is this card in here?
Who knows? Because
Vorinclex?
Vorinclex is coming around.
But why doesn't
So
Vorinclex
bizarre.
deal with poison? He's the Phyrexian.
I don't know.
Rob, look, great question, but
I mean, is like Finn just randomly, did Vorinclex be like, hey, do you want a special ability?
the fang that Finn is bearing, Vorinclex's fang.
Oh,
Could
maybe.
be. That would not surprise me. So here's the deal. If you haven't played with poison before, this reminds you, a player with 10 or more poison counters loses the game. So Finn kills in 5 hits, right? If standard-ish thing. He's the only thing in a while that deals with poison counters. And he gives it out to your other Death Touch things, so it makes them really problematic to either block or not block.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to look up how many Death Touchers there are in
No,
Scryfall.
there's a ton of creatures with Death Touch. You probably want to limit it to standard. Oh,
Yeah,
just
I
in
meant
Kaldheim. There's
just for like limit.
half
Could I just make a limited deck, you know?
Yeah.
So Finn is an uncommon, so you'll actually see him fairly often. He also is. He reminds me of very old poison cards. So he deals his damage in addition to doing the poison, right? He doesn't have infect, so he still hits for 1 point of damage. So he might close out killing them anyways. And
So he's like, I deal you 1 normal, but also
Correct.
these 2 poison.
And the poison counters are a pain to remove. There really isn't a way in standard to deal with poison counters at all. The trade-off is that Finn is so unique that he's going to be troublesome to try to kill people with anyways. So it's a weird thing. This is why this set reminds me a lot of Ice Age, which I mentioned in our pre-show. But like Ice Age did this a lot, where it had one card that was a theme all on its own, and then they'd come back and mine that in some later Magic set. But like this is very strange that this stands alone in the set. It's probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll let you know that it's gonna be.
The cheese stands alone.
Indeed.
Finn, the cheese.
That it's gonna be really hard to do this in limited because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards in the whole set that even have the word Death Touch on them, and not all of them are creatures. So.
Oh. Well,
and he does have to deal.
you could.
It has to be a creature with Death Touch. So yep.
Yeah. You know, so I'm just letting you know, like, you can live the dream, but it'll be a tough dream.
So, non-basics and basic land types are back. Welcome to Snow Duels. We said we wanted them. We asked for them for years, and WotC gave us Enters the Battlefield tapped Snow Duels. So, there's a cycle, 1 for each color pair. They are common, they are snow, land, and then have 2 basic land types. They enter the battlefield tapped. So, Highland Forest is a snow, land, mountain forest. And that means it taps for either red or green, just like mountains do and just like forests do. And it is not basic. So anything that searches for basic lands cannot find Highland Forest. It is a mountain and a forest, though. So anything that searches for mountains or forests will find it. For people that are fairly new to the game and haven't seen dual type lands before, this is relevant. And it's a common, so it's going to come up a bunch. You're going to see these a bunch on Arena because they're just really respectable lands. They're not great, but they're fine.
What a respectable piece of land that is.
Respectable.
Very respectable.
So I want to move on to individual cards.
All right.
Let's go.
So let's start with a card of the template that makes me angry.
Ooh, this is Rob did say at the beginning of the show. He was like, he's like, some of these cards made me mad. Here's one.
Boreal Outrider. It's a 3/2 for green and 2 snow creature elf warrior. Whenever you cast a creature spell, if snow of any of that spell's colors was spent to cast it, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on.
Look at my face right now, if you can see in this video. What?
Right. So here's the deal. I have a Boreal Outrider and on the battlefield, and I go to cast Bear Cub, which is a 2/2 for green and 1. It has no abilities, right? I cast it with Snow Mountain and Basic Forest. I paid a red snow mana, so red mana that came from a snowland, and green that didn't come from a snowland. And I do not get a counter from Boreal Outrider. It must be snow mana that matches a color of the creature.
Oh, I see.
Gotcha.
So if I had Snow
That-
Forest, that's a green mana that came from a snowland. And so then my Bear Cub would enter with the +1/+1 counter.
All right, then.
So
Okay, that
I don't
is
know why they
bizarre.
printed it this way. This is a very, very
Yeah.
strange thing. They've never cared about this on any card in the past, and it's kind of like it's like you were trying to wrap your head around it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know why it exists like this. Be aware that if you tap, like, Arena's Auto Tapper will probably get you on this. I don't know if it's going to anticipate this at all. But
This elk is very cute, though.
Really pretty.
Really pretty elk.
the elk is gorgeous. I love what they did with like the structure of this card. The, like pay some snow mana to cast your spells, but it's really weird to wrap your head around this.
Yep, fair enough.
And then be careful when tapping your lands because the color needs to match one of the creature's colors.
Yeah.
And multiple Boreal Outriders each trigger. So if you have 2 Boreal Outriders and I cast a Bear Cub with a Snow Forest and some other land, I'll get 2 counters.
Great.
So
Nice.
All
they're
right,
each
my
separate
Bear
triggers.
Cub Boreal Outrider deck is ready to go.
It's happening.
I just use it because it's a creature with no abilities and it's very cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Craven Hulk. Craven Hulk is a giant coward. It's a 4/4 for red and 3. And
Rob, you don't have to be so mean.
Wow, Rob.
no, it
Wow.
told me it was a
Okay.
giant coward. I just went with it. So Craven Hulk it can't block alone. And you would think that means it must group block attackers. That's not necessarily true. You can't be the only creature you have that's blocked. So
Gotcha.
if they
Okay.
attack you with 2 creatures and you have Craven Hulk and another blocker, each one can block one of those creatures. Because Craven
Gotcha.
Hulk isn't your only blocker.
Yeah.
But you don't have to double block one of them. You can split it up because Craven Hulk just cares that he has a friend somewhere on his side of the
Yeah.
counter.
Hey, are you gonna
Hey,
block this
are you
combo?
blocking? Are you thinking about blocking today?
I don't know if I
I
wanna-
was thinking about
Are
blocking.
you gonna block,
but
though?
only if someone else is
If,
going to block.
if you block, I'll block. But if you don't block, I'm not gonna block.
No,
That's what happens when you have 2 Craven Hulks. 2 Craven Hulks can block. It can each block a separate creature. They aren't blocking alone.
Craven Hulk is the most middle school card I've ever seen.
It really is. Lijara, I'm going to butcher some names because there's J's in the middle of these words, and I'm not sure if I should pronounce them as Y's. Lityara Kinseekers is blue and 3 for a 2/4 creature shapeshifter with Changeling. When Lityara Kinseekers enters the battlefield, if you control 3 or more creatures that share a creature type, put a +1/+1 counter on Lityara Kinseekers, then scry 1. This is going to count itself. So it just needs 2 friends that match each other. Just be
Nice.
aware
Okay.
that you will, like, your math is easier than you think it is, but at the same time you have to think about it more. Masked Vandal. This is one of those other cards that makes me angry because they clearly know what the template should be. But so Masked Vandal is a 1/3 for green and 1 creature shapeshifter with Changeling. And it says, when Masked Vandal enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. So this seems straightforward.
What makes you mad here?
What makes me mad is they have this technology called Reflexive Triggers, where they have a triggered ability, and then that triggered ability creates a second triggered ability.
Okay.
This is not a reflexive trigger. This
Okay.
behaves in the opposite order of what it's listed. So it says, if you do exile target artifact or an enchantment opponent controls, it enters the battlefield, the trigger goes in the stack, it targets that thing. They get the chance to respond. If they don't do anything, then your ability resolves, and you may exile something at that point. You don't pay until the resolution.
Weird.
Yes, and you know how I know that they're perfectly cognizant of reflexive triggers? There's a saga with a reflexive trigger in this set.
All right, then.
There's several of these. So if any of the cards you see, when this enters the battlefield, you may exile something from your graveyard. If you do a thing to a target thing, you put the target on the stack first, and then you exile during the resolution.
Gotcha.
And so then you get to make your choice about whether or not to exile, whether or not to do anything. If their artifact or enchantment leaves the battlefield in response, then the trigger is countered. Well, not countered. The trigger fails to resolve, and you don't have to exile anything. In fact, you can't exile
Okay.
anything.
Great. I love doing thing to target things.
Raider's Carve. Raider's Carve is a vehicle. It's a 4/4 for 3 mana. And when it attacks, it's an artifact, by the way. When it attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped.
Because it's exploring. I get it.
It is. It is. It's actually really cool. It is a crew of 3. And so there's a bunch of modal double face cards in Zendikar, Rising, Reborn, Zendikar 3. So I can never remember these sets now that they're on multiple returns.
Zendikar Rising, Reborn, Zendikar 3 is what I wish it was called.
And so the thing with Raider's Carve is if modal double face cards that are spells in the front and lands in the back aren't lands, Raider's Carve won't put them onto the battlefield. If they are lands...
Just like Valky.
Yep, just like Valky. And if they are lands on both sides, it will only put the front face onto the battlefield.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Be aware.
You cannot pick.
Yeah, you don't get to pick. It's just something that's going to come up with them. I don't know if people will be playing this card. It looks like a very medium vehicle to me, but it's possible. Roots of Wisdom. It's a sorcery for green and 1. It says mill 3 cards, then return a land card or elf card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. So you must do what it says. If you have an elf in your graveyard and you don't want it,
I can't.
Yes.
I
You
can't
must.
return it. I want it in the graveyard.
Yes.
I just like it in there better.
yeah, like he was my friend, but he needs to stay dead. And so, but no.
I can't.
Roots of Wisdom, even if you hate your elf friend, must return your elf friend. Or
You
a land,
must.
if there's a land in your graveyard. And so it's very possible
Gotcha.
you'll mill a land, hate your life, don't want the land, you want to draw a spell, but Roots of Wisdom doesn't care. It gives
Too
you your
bad.
land back.
Too bad. You must.
You
Yes.
must.
You must.
Run Ashore. Run Ashore is an instant for blue, and 4. It says choose one or both. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So
Nice.
you pick 2 permanents, right? 2 different non-lands. You hand one to your opponent, and you say put it either on the top or the bottom of your library. You probably won't do this to your opponent. The return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Sometimes you'll target your own things. Sometimes everything will line up where you put a rune on their permanent because you needed to cycle it, and you need to bounce their thing to the top or bottom of their library and return your rune to your hand. You can do that.
Ooh.
The rune doesn't get put into the graveyard until after the spell is done resolving, if it's still on the battlefield and not attached to anything. So
Gotcha.
if you have an aura that's on a thing that is on their creature. Also, if you have an aura that is turning down their creature for whatever reason, the blue vendetta, I don't remember what the new blue vendetta is, but you might send their thing away and then return your aura to your hand.
Oh, the constant blue vendetta is to draw cards.
Yes, that's true.
Hold on, I just have to read the flavor text of this
Ooh,
card
yes.
because it's very good. In the voice that I'm sure it was uttered originally.
Yeah.
Which one of you slug-brained milksops forgot to make an offering to Cosima? Although they're Vikings, so they're not Scottish,
Yeah.
but it just came out.
Great.
Scorn Effigy. Scorn Effigy is an artifact creature scarecrow, 3 mana for a 2/3.
It's a scarecrow!
Yeah. And they got Wayne Reynolds to do it, and he did a great job as usually does with these. But the Scorn Effigy here has a foretell of 0. So you can foretell it for 2 mana, just like with all the other foretell cards, and then you can't cast it right away. You have to wait. You put it on layaway, but you get it for free because it is a foretell of 0. This card
Wow.
teaches you how foretell works, because this would be a dumb card if it just let you cast it for 2 mana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't. Instead, you send it to the future and you cast it on a future turn for free.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of flavor text, this thing's flavor text is the most depressing flavor text I think I've ever read. It remembers every wound it has seen or suffered and nothing else.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's real rough.
Poor buddy.
Wither Crown. Wither Crown,
great name.
yeah. Wither Crown is an aura for black and 1 with enchant creature. Enchanted creature has base power 0 and has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life unless you sacrifice this creature.
Oh!
So it turns your creature down and then gives you the option about whether or not you want to keep it. because if it has abilities, you might want to hold on to it. Or
Yeah.
Wither Crown sets the base power to 0. That basically says take the number in the lower right-hand corner and change that to 0. But other things will apply on top of it. So +1/+1 counters will apply on top of Wither Crown. Or as equipment, they'll apply on top of that 0. So you're changing the base number, but not the additional stuff that gets added to it.
What a cool card.
It is a very
Yeah.
cool card. I really like this art too.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Agar, the Freezing Flame. Agar is a legendary creature giant wizard for red, blue 1 for a 3/3. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant, wizard, or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card.
That's a lot of things to say.
Yeah, basically, he has friends. His friends are giants, his friends are wizards, and his friends are lightning bolts. And so...
Yeah. Yes. Lucky guy.
Hey, you know, a man shall be judged by the company he keeps. So, Agar the Freezing Flame wants any of these to do overkill to something. Excess damage, or if you deal something more damage than its toughness or the number of loyalty counters on. So
Gotcha.
if they have a planeswalker with 2 loyalty left and you lightning bolt it, Agar will get you to draw a card.
Nice.
This is
That's
this
cool.
is cool. You dealt more damage than its toughness. This gets tricky with
Yeah.
Trample. Trample it changes the rules for damage assignment. So if you have a 1/1
Gotcha.
and I attack you with a 2/2 giant with Trample, Trample says I can assign lethal damage to the creature and then other damage to the player. So I assign
Yeah.
1
Yes.
damage to your 1/1 and then 1 damage to you. Your 1/1 does not take excess damage.
So Agar would be like, no,
Yes.
man.
But Trample is optional. So if I want to draw a card with Agar, I can choose to assign the 2 damage to the 1/1.
Nice.
Weird.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
If it's a 3/3 with Trample and it's a 1/1, can I deal 2
Yes.
damage to the 1/1 and 1
Yes,
to
you
the
can.
player?
Wow.
and I'll draw a card.
How is this going to look on Arena?
I have no
That's
idea.
Gonna be,
So I've
gonna be
never
bizarre.
tried to assign bonus damage to the creature that I'm trampling over on Arena.
Bonus damage.
Yeah, there's very rare corner cases where you want to, but it's not that frequent. Like you need to mark extra damage on it because it's gonna get extra life from Fate Flower or something.
Yeah.
Or it's a Death's Shadow. That's the only reason that you ever do that in Modern, is because you don't want to deal damage to the player. You need to deal all to the Death's Shadow to make sure it dies.
I got to say,
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought this up because I remember seeing this card and just being kind of like, what? When I first saw it.
It's so cool though. Look at how long his beard is.
Long beard.
Yeah.
Long
Well,
beard.
look at how big he is too. He's got a longboat for scale,
Yeah.
right?
He's enormous.
His beard is the size
scale
of the
boat,
longboat.
man.
Yeah, we're not messing with scale birds
No.
with this guy.
Scale boat.
But he is only a 3/3, so he can get killed by like a random
Yeah.
soldier.
Yeah.
So, Axguard Armory. Axguard Armory is one of a cycle of lands, and it is a strange one. It enters the battlefield tapped. It's a land. Taps for white. White, red, red, and 1, and tap and sacrifice it. Search your library for an aura card and or an equipment card. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. So, Axguard Armory, you can sacrifice it, including at an opponent's end step, and it finds you an aura or an equipment or both. Yeah,
I love it.
So
Nice.
people are going to
This is
miss
great.
and or on this, I think. They're going to be like, oh, I get to get an aura or an equipment. What do I get? Well, just get them both, right?
Get
Yeah.
them both. Ooh. Live that good life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that card.
Binding the Old Gods. I don't actually care what any of the text on this
Beautiful.
card says. I want you to know, I don't know if you've seen this. This is a woodcut.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
it's
is not
so
a painting.
Cool. It's so cool.
So I believe it's the only Magic card ever done as a woodcut for their art. I have no rules commentary on it. I'm really impressed with Victor Adame Dominguez who did this. It's a beautiful piece. It's like this big.
it's incredible.
So track that down if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. I remember seeing him at GPs all the time.
Yeah.
And, if that ever happens again in the future, I'll go up and be like, high five just for this woodcut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this
he does.
woodcut.
He does such good work too. Like He did. Which
Yeah,
one did
he
he
does.
do
Yeah.
for me? Is this Victor? Yeah.
Oh, do you have some art
artist
from
proof
his?
from him?
Cool.
Ooh, very
That's
nice.
Tulane on the front. So. And
Very
he,
cool.
like he's a nice guy and he does such great work. So incredible respect to the magic artist that he is. Giant's Amulet. It's an artifact equipment for single blue. It's part of a cycle that says when this equipment enters the battlefield, you may pay some mana. If you do, create a token and attach the thing to it. Giant's Amulet says when it enters the battlefield, you may pay blue and 3. If you do, create a 4/4 blue giant wizard creature token, then attach Giant's Amulet to it. Equipped creature gets +0/+1 and this creature has hexproof as long as it's untapped. And equips for 2 mana.
All right.
So
I love it.
what you're going to run into if you play like on spell table with people is they're going to want to respond like in the middle of this trigger that says when it enters the battlefield, create this thing and then attach the equipment to it. It has it then in the middle. It does it sequentially. It creates the creature at that size and then attaches it to the thing, but it's all during the trigger, so they can't respond in the middle. This is relevant for Giant's
Gotcha.
Amulet.
So
Yeah,
it'll have
hexproof
hexproof before they can.
Yeah,
nab
and
it.
the Elven Longbow makes a 1/1 token. They can't deal at 1 point of damage in the middle. It gets the buff from the Elven Longbow beforehand, or before they get the chance to respond.
Gotcha. Nice.
So, Lityara Mirror Lake. This is a land. It's part of that cycle that pays 2 colors to sacrifice to do a thing. It enters the battlefield taps for blue. Blue, green, green 2, and tap and sacrifice Lityara Mirror Lake. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Except it enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. If the thing you copy is only temporarily a creature, like say it's a vehicle, then it will enter as not a creature, but it will still enter with an extra +1/+1 counter. So if you crew up a car and then, or in this case a boat, and then use the Mirror Lake to make a bonus boat, the boat will get a +1/+1 counter. It won't be animated. The token copy will enter as a base vehicle with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Weird. Nice. So it's a creature when you make it because your boat was a creature, and then afterwards it goes back to just being an equipment vehicle.
The base thing is still a creature the whole time. So you have your boat that got crewed. It's a 4/4. Yeah. Mirror Lake copies it. When you copy something, you get the base characteristics of the object. So you get an uncrewed boat. And
nice.
But it comes out with a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's weird, but yes, be aware that if you try to do, I need 2 boats, you will get a second boat. You just won't be able to do anything with it.
Yeah. It just won't be an awake boat.
Yes, it will be a sleepy boat.
It's a napping boat.
The Trickster God's Heist. It's a saga for Black, Blue, and 2. Step 1, you may exchange control of 2 target creatures. Step 2, you may exchange control of 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type. Step 3, target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So in step 2, it says 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type. Snow is not a card type.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So you can't exchange your land for their snow artifact because snow is not. Snow is a super type. It's like legendary. So you can't. You couldn't exchange a legendary planeswalker for a legendary creature either.
Gotcha.
So basically, Chapter 2 is normally not going to do anything.
Well, I mean, it could exchange 2
non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type is basically artifacts or enchantments.
Lands?
2 non-basic lands.
2 non-basic lands.
It could swap 2.
It lets you change
2 non-basic.
It lets you change a treasure token for a vehicle.
Ooh, that's fun.
Okay.
And the other thing is that for an exchange, both things have to be there for the exchange to happen. So if you target a treasure token and a vehicle, and you sacrifice your treasure token in response to your own ability, you can do that. You won't get their boat. They both have to be there for the exchange to happen. Question.
What if I were to, I have an enchantment, thing Wow.
Saga?
No, okay, sure. I have an enchantment Saga.
Okay.
And it, I don't care about the last chapter. And they have like an enchantment rune, and I swap them. Does the rune get to attach to
the rune
something?
stays whatever it's currently attached to. So you can change your Trickster God's Heist out for their Rune of Flight, and the Rune of Flight will remain attached to their permanent.
So I own it, but it's still on
just
their
like if you
thing?
played the Rune of Flight on their basic swamp, right? You own the Rune of Flight that you played on their swamp, right?
Great idea. I love it. Let's do it.
So basically, don't do
Yes,
that.
probably don't do that. Arena will do it correctly, and you will be sad.
Oh man. Well, really glad I asked.
Yep.
Look, that rune is still attached to your creature, but I just want us both to be clear. I own
Well, you
it.
control it. They still own it.
I mean, I control
I
it.
control it. I control that rune.
Cosima, God of the Voyage. She has a back face. I don't actually care about it. It's really straightforward. But we're going to talk about Cosima's front, which is she's a legendary creature god, 2/4 for blue and 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosima. If you do, the exiled Cosima gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a voyage counter on. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it and draw X cards, where X is the number of voyage counters on it. So
wild.
So strange.
here's the
Love
deal.
it.
Every time I added the exiled Cosima gains that, it gains that ability while it's in exile. And so anytime a land comes out, you get a landfall trigger that makes you choose to either send a card to the future or cash in for all of the cards. And when you cash in for all of the cards, you draw a card for every voyage counter you put on Cosima, and she comes back with a bunch of +1/+1 counters. She's like a slow backwards tireless tracker.
This card's,
What did you
I mean, it's bizarre, but
She's
cool.
very cool. She's like referencing infinite unlimited voyages and Odysseus and the Scalds and all sorts of things, and it's very hard to figure out what this card is doing or whether or not it will do anything for you.
Gotcha. Well, I love it.
You get to choose. You get to cash in to draw all your cards, or you can just leave more cards set up in the future. You could draw more cards later, or some cards now. It's like the marshmallow test.
Meghan just never brings her back because she's always like,
never. I'm just like, think about
cards.
how next time it'll be even more.
In Search of Greatness, it's an enchantment for green. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. So, in Search of Greatness, your upkeep happens, and in Search of Greatness doesn't see itself. 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control. So, if you have no other things, you could cast a 1, because it's 1 greater than 0. If you have a 3-cost permanent on the battlefield, in Search of Greatness will let you cast exactly a 4. And if you don't do this, if you don't have anything to cast, you just scry 1.
hey, Rob, I have a question for you. You're playing your pre-release. You've got a green base deck. Are you putting this card in it? In your sealed deck?
If I'm primary green and I have a curve of creatures, so like I have like 2s and 3s and 4s, if I'm missing a number, I probably don't play. Well, no, I probably play this anyways. I would probably pay green for an enchantment that's scry 1 every upkeep and sealed. The more that I look at it, like
just noting for a video that may be out later
in
this
sealed
week.
the fail cases, you scry 1 every turn, and it's pretty bad later in the game. But a lot of 2s are pretty bad later in the game. So on 2 though, it's pretty great. Like scry 1 every upkeep for 2 mana, it's fine. Like I'd play that card as a common or uncommon, so I'm not going to not play it if I open it as a rare. Like what?
Gotcha. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So we have the back side of a card. So the front face of this card is... I'm going to find it.
Sir
Yeah,
Snow God.
Jon Snow.
Yes.
Yeah, really, it's Jon Snow. But I only put the back face because I don't actually care about any of his abilities in the front face. But so he is Jorn, God of Winter, on the front.
I don't.
We're just going to skip over
we
that
go.
front and
Yeah,
go
yeah,
right to the back. Black blue 1 for Kaldrig the Rhyme Staff. It is a legendary snow artifact. It has tap. You may play target snow permanent card from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it enters the battlefield tapped. So if the snow thing is a double face card, like say Jorn, who is a snow creature, right? You can, and it is a double face snow card. You target the snow permanent card in your graveyard, and then you can play either side of it. Because Kaldrig says you can cast either half, or it says you may play that card.
Gotcha.
It doesn't actually.
Gotcha.
What if in your graveyard this is a snow land and you've already made a
You
land
cannot
drop
make an
this
additional
turn?
land drop. You have to play things following their normal rules. You have to cast them for their normal things. You have to use your normal land drop. So Kaldrig lets you play a single snow land per turn, or just recast like 2/2s for 3 or whatever.
Sick.
Mystic Reflection. Blue and 1 for an instant. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. Foretell for single blue. So Mystic Reflection's a weird magic card. You pick a creature, and then the next thing that comes out for either player is a copy of that thing. So if you have a 0/1 plant token, and they cast a creature spell, you can respond by casting Mystic Reflection targeting your plant. Their creature will enter as a 0/1 plant. It lets you target their things.
Great.
So you choose a target non-legendary creature. So if you have a plant token that's being made by something, if you have a 0/1 plant token trigger from Fyteth, the World Sculptor, Fyteth puts his trigger to make a bunch of plants in the stack. You target their 3/3, and the plants, because they're all entering at the same time, all enter as that thing.
Great.
It is
Great. They try and cast their Tibble for 9, and you're like, nice.
Yes, nice plant token.
Nice plant, buddy.
He's only 7. Tybalt's black, red 5.
Oh, sorry. My bad. You're right.
So Mystic Reflection basically, it's a very strange blue removal / buff spell. It is going to be difficult to wrap your head around what this can do at any given time. So,
Yeah.
and once it's done its thing, once it's made something into made a copy, it doesn't apply again to further creatures with the turn. So it's just the one. But if they all enter at the same time, it will apply to all of them.
You get it once.
Yeah.
I have a question though. So, what happens if the thing that you have chosen is not around anymore? Like, if you're like, I want it, I have a plant, it will come in as plant, but then they're like, somehow kill your plant.
You use the copyable values from the last time it was on the battlefield. So whatever its last set of copyable values it has. If it stops being a creature, but this resolved on it, somehow it stopped being a creature, like an animating enchantment fell off or something, you will copy it as its current status.
Okay.
If it stops being on the battlefield, then it'll use the last values from it. Yep.
So it remembered the plant.
The Mystic Reflection remembers the plant.
Okay, this card I've never played. I'm out. This is
What?
No, it's too weird.
yeah.
There's
Great.
one that
It's
I
great.
do need to mention, because this hit my end, but there's one left.
Okay.
Alrund, God of the Cosmos. Alrund, God of the Cosmos, is a 1/1 for blue 3 legendary creature god. Alrund gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, and each foretold card you own in exile. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. If you look at the actual version that's on Scryfall, he is missing the phrase revealed this way. Yeah, and I actually missed it when I was reading it, because that's what the image says. Reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type into your hand. Put all cards of the chosen type revealed this way into your hand.
Gotcha.
So he's just missing.
Yeah, he's missing
words
some words, and they make him not work at all. So he has errata day 1. Or day 0 errata.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's
I love a good day 1 errata.
Don't we all?
And note for Elrond,
right.
you choose a card type. Snow is not a card type. You cannot choose snow.
Yes.
Yes, if you take one thing away from this
Snow
episode,
is not a
please
card
note,
type.
snow,
Yes.
not a card type.
Not
It's just
card type.
a super type that tags onto any card. That's run through my stuff. That's what I got.
Yay!
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Rob. That was great. I mean, honestly, you do a fantastic job every time, and this time especially kudos because of how many words of rules text we have in Kaldheim.
It's Ice Age. It's a whole set of cards with a whole pile of words that half of them don't do anything.
Well, there you go.
Welcome back to Ice Age. So what's going to happen is when we put this episode on Tuesday, Rob, if you have any questions that we did not cover in this episode, you can go over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodluckhighfive. And Rob, for about a week or so, will go in and answer your questions in the comments. So if something came up and you're like, oh, I didn't hear the answer to this on the show, don't worry. You can ask it under our YouTube video in the comments, and Rob will help you out for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll chill and we'll answer all sorts of questions.
It is time for none other than the grossest card. I have 2 strong contenders.
Yeah.
One is a little bit reminiscent of our old friend Doom Whisperer, who had so many arms, except this person, gentleman demon, has tentacle face. And that is Dream Devourer. Dream Devourer, spooky tentacle beard, not about it. Not about tentacles, they're gross and weird. But I really gotta give it to this thing that I don't know what it is. And it's spooky and gross. And that is nothing more than Orvar the All-Form. I think maybe the first time a blue... Wait, no, Gainsay is blue. And that one is one of the Alzheimer's. But Orvar the All-Form, a blue card winning, our grossest card. Don't know what's going on. Is that tentacle his? Is it just his buddies? What is his face made of?
Everything and nothing all at once.
Everything and nothing all at once. Not about it. Not about this face. Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Orvar. Rob's on board.
Real gross. If you know what? And so this grossest card is brought to you by what is your face made of?
Rob, I need to know, you usually have very strong opinions about cutest card. For you, do you have ones that stand out to you that you're sure I won't consider?
I have opinions. I like Pilfering Hawk a lot.
All right.
He stole a trinket and he just wants to hold on to it. That's exciting.
Oh,
he is very cute.
Very cute burb.
Very cute burb.
Very cute burb.
Right? And there's a bunch of just like funny cute ones, but that's probably the if I had to pick an animal out of the set to have, I would have that one.
Yeah.
Because it's a very cute bird.
He's real good.
A lot of people have thought that maybe the pup in this set is a nominee for cutest card. I can't remember what it's called. It's just a little green puppy dog.
Cute.
Which, I'm going to say, it is cute, of course. It's a little green pup.
The Packmate or the Fearless Pup?
Oh, which one? Okay, hold up. We're going to have to pull up.
There's two wolves in the set. Fearless Pup's red.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, sorry. I was thinking it must be green because it's a pup, but no, it's red.
Okay.
Fearless Pup's red and Seryl's Packmate's green, and they're both howling at the moon. And actually, if you look at them next to each other, it's actually like a little kid and then an adult grown up.
Oh, Fearless Pup is so cute.
He howls.
He's very cute.
He howl.
But I just can't go for it. It's cute, but it's not going to win. Okay. It's a little pandery. First of all.
Wow.
Second of all.
Maria always likes to call pandering.
Second of all, it's a dog, and it can't win versus a cat. Am I right?
All right. Well, Maria, we all know Maria's biases.
Yes, and
you don't want the other dog card, Wings of the Cosmos?
Oh, can you pull that one up, Megan? Wings of the Cosmos.
Hold on.
Hold on. We're searching for it.
It's an angel dog.
Remember when I made my all dogs go to heaven deck?
Yes.
Oh, this card is
We
beautiful.
both made that deck. How dare you write me out of that history?
You know
Wow.
how we made that deck. I remember nothing. My memory is a sieve. Wings of the Cosmos. That is a beautiful good boy.
Yeah, very beautiful good boy.
Yeah.
But Maria.
Yes, obviously the winner is Asika's Chariot. Are you even kidding me? Two McFluffertrons sitting, and one is like puffed up and puffy, and the other one is sitting in him's little chariot, taking a sun nap, getting ready to be pulled away. And Asika's like, come on, cats, you got to pull my butt around. And these cats are like, but hold on, I'm taking a Mr. Nap.
Wow. All right.
Asika's Chariot, you win cutest card. Congratulations. You probably win for the entire year. I don't know what could possibly beat you, but there you go.
It is a very cute card.
It's very cute.
It really is.
Although I can't believe not even a shout out for Toski.
I mean, Toski obviously gets a shout out. It's a squirrel.
Real cute.
The very first legendary squirrel. Thank you, Mark Rosewater. Love Toski.
Well, the first black bordered legendary squirrel, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
black bordered. Big fan of Toski. The showcase art is not cute. The showcase art is a very formidable, like a regal squirrel.
Yeah.
But Toski himself, I would say, is kind of a little too lizardy to be very cute. But I mean, he's small and he's got good frills. So,
All right.
you know,
Well, congrats
he's in the conversation.
to Asika's Chariot.
Yeah, absolutely. Guess what?
What?
Ultra Pro's cool.
Yes, they sure are. They are a very cool place if you are looking to celebrate some of the awesome art of Kaldheim by having it on playmats, on sleeves, on deck boxes. You just want to look at that sick art all day. Well, do you know what? Best way to do it, besides holding the card right in front of your face all day. And that's just not as feasible.
No. And here's the thing. I feel like Dominaria was one of the all-time art sets.
Yeah,
Great,
it was great.
art.
It was
and
really
I think
good.
Kaldheim is right after Dominaria.
Yes,
It's
Kaldheim is like way up there.
in
It's
its
got some
footsteps.
sweet art.
Yeah.
Ooh, like that beautiful woodcut.
I know.
Oh, there's some really gorgeous, like sagas have been such an incredible thing for Magic art, I think.
Yeah, and I've just been so thrilled to see all the cool stuff Ultra Pro has been printing with the Kaldheim art on it.
Ooh, they've got like the cool banners.
The banners,
If
yeah.
you like the saga art, you can get it as like the cool banners. Oh,
Hang those things
Yes.
up in your house. Boom, immediate improvement. I've also seen them. They've got a really cool new Kaldheim deck box that they took some pictures
Yes.
of in some snow, and it just looks beautiful.
Very
So
cool.
if you're like us and you're a fan of this Kaldheim artwork, support the artists, support our show by getting some of this cool Ultra Pro swag for Magic, and celebrate the art of Magic on some of your stuff. Well, human beings, that's this episode of Good Luck High Five.
that's right. Thank you once again so much to Judge Rob
yeah.
for coming out and telling us everything that we need to know to head into Kaldheim.
Yeah, I feel so much better prepared for my pre-release thanks to Judge Rob.
Yes.
And big round of applause for him taking time out of his busy schedule to come here and help us every time a new set drops. So thumbs up. Thank you so much, everybody who supports the show over on Patreon, because what you're doing is helping us be able to bring Judge Rob on and educate, everybody who plays Magic.
Everybody
By giving them the show.
And you make sure that we are able to bring that content to people, whether they are able to support right now or not.
Right.
So if you're able to, and you got something from this Judge Rob episode, or something from our 10 worst rares to open in your pre-release video coming this Wednesday,
Yeah.
consider heading on over to patreon.com/GLHFmagic and throwing a couple bucks our way.
Yeah, big thank you as well, of course, to Card Kingdom and Ultra Pro, our other sponsors of this show. And just, yourself for being
Yes.
there and for listening to us every week. We love hanging out with you and being your company.
Yeah. Now go out and get rocked.
Get your face melted off by some Kaldheim.
That's right.